Hi, Princeton Tigers. Again, we're going to skip the first part and go straight into our equations because you guys are so good at identifying inverse operations. So our first equation is x plus 3 is negative 4. What's our goal when solving equations? To get x by itself. So how do I undo this addition? Subtract on both sides. We end up with x equals what? Negative 7. Next one, we're doing division. Go ahead and try this problem on your own. You should have multiplied by 4 on both sides. The first 4 cancels out, and you would have gotten x equals negative 32. And the last one, try on your own as well. Should have added 2 and 5/10 to both sides. And then you would have ended up with x equals negative 2 and 5/10. Make sure you're using a calculator to check your work at least when we're dealing with integers so we're not making silly mistakes. Now moving on to two-step equations. Again, we're trying to get x by ourselves. So looking at this first problem, what can we do to get x by itself? What do we need to get rid of? If we look at this side of the equation, we have 9x minus 2. We need to get rid of that minus 2 on that side of the equation. How can we undo that minus 2? Add 2 on both sides. Now what are we left with? We're left with 9x equals 18. Now what's the last step I can do? I can divide by 9 on both sides. No, you can't. And I'm left with x equals what? 2. Please stop interrupting me. I'm trying to record a video. All right, so now moving on to the next problem, it gets a little trickier. Okay. So first thing we have to do is what? We need to get rid of this minus 1 because we undo our addition and subtraction first. So how can I undo this subtraction? I can add 1 to both sides. So what am I left with? I'm left with x divided by 3 equals 5. What operation is this fraction bar right here? That's division. So how can I undo that division? With multiplication. So now what am I left with? X equals 15. Are we done? Yes, we are, because we have x by itself on one side of the equation. Last one. So here we have it switched around. So where's my x? My x is right here. So how can I get rid of everything around x? First, I want to get rid of this 4. Is this a positive 4 or a negative 4? It's a positive 4. So how can I get rid of positive 4? I can subtract 4 because 4 minus 4 equals what? 0. So I can subtract 4 on both sides. So now I'm left with negative 3x equals 2 minus 4. What's 2 minus 4? Negative 2. Last step, I can divide by negative 3. You'll end up with x equals 2/3. If you plugged it into a calculator, you would have gotten 0.6 repeated. Moving on to this next set of equations, when we do these, I want you to try them on your own first, and then we'll go through them. So try the first equation. What does x equal? To solve this equation, you should have added 7 to both sides. This cancels out. You would have been left with 5x equals 10. Then your last step is to divide by 5. You'll be left with x equals 2. Next one, what's the first thing we can do? You got to get rid of our 2. Go ahead and try the rest of the equation on your own. Get rid of 2, you'll be left with negative 3x equals negative 6. Then we divide by negative 3. You would have gotten x equals 2. Last one, 2 minus x equals 4. This one is the one that's a little bit trickier. We need to get rid of our 2 first, so we subtract 2 because our 2 isn't anywhere near x. Now we're left with negative x equals 2. Now we have to get rid of that negative. What can I divide by to get rid of that negative? I can divide by -1. I'll end up with x equals -2. All right, so go ahead and try the rest of the one-step or two-step equations. And then looking at your worksheet, you have some one-step equations on the back. They're in a different order, but this is just z divided by 6 equals 8. So if we try this problem, we have 8 equals z divided by 6. To undo this division, you're trying to get z by itself. It doesn't matter what side of the equation z is on. You just multiply anyways, and you'll end up with 48 equals z. So don't get fooled or don't get confused by the fact that you have your variables on a different side of the equation for some of them. It's the exact same thing. So go ahead, finish up the front as well as the back, and then Miss Mac will pull you at the end of class. Good luck.